Take a good look at these soft pretzel bites. Man, these things are oh so tasty. We're going to show you exactly how we make these every step of the way. Ready, set, let's roll. We're going to get things started here with 1/3 of a cup of baking soda. Adding that into a nice large pot of water, and we're going to bring that pot to a boil right on the stovetop. We're going to place this on high. And before we leave this, we're going to make sure we stir in that baking soda fully right into that water. And then we're going to bring this to a full boil. Now while we have that heating up on the stovetop, we're going to go over to the island here. We've got ourselves 1 large egg cracked into a bowl. And now we're going to thoroughly beat this with a fork or with a small whisk. Alright, what do we got here? Well, this is 16 ounces of ready-to-bake pizza dough. The key tip here is make sure this is at room temperature. That makes this next step a lot more easy to do. And Pete wants to come in. He must see that there's food being made. And in the meantime, Julie has grabbed 2 baking trays. These are 12 by 18 inches. And what's she looking for now? Well, that's the parchment paper. She's going to line both of these baking trays with the parchment paper across the bottom. You just want to make sure that they lay nice and flat. At this stage, it's the perfect time to preheat the oven to 425 degrees. Oh, we're still waiting on that to boil here, and now we're getting ready to work with the dough. So what Julie is doing here is she's just slowly stretching this out gradually. Flip it over, do a little bit more stretching. She's just trying to get this stretched out here to a nice length where she can cut this into 3 rows that are equal in width. And while we watch her do this process, this is a great time to click like and subscribe to see more content from our channel. We do a lot of these videos and we would love to have you with us in the future. And it looks like Julie's pretty content here with that length and the thickness. That's about a 1/4 inch thick, maybe a little bit less than that. Now she's going to grab her all-top bench scraper or chopper and cut this into 3 equal rows and then be able to cut them into smaller pieces from that point. And as you can see here, you might have to play with this a little bit to get that fully separated from the rest of the dough, but that's okay. You just pull that away, scrape it away as you can, and then you got your strip. And then you do the same thing one other time to separate 2 more rows out. Right when she completes pulling this one all back together. There we go. We'll speed things up here a bit just as she cuts out these last 2 rows for you. But then we'll bring it back to normal speed just so you can see how she does separate these out. Just kind of get in there and make sure you get everything nice and separated evenly, and then pull everything back together and make these as evenly sized as you can. Doesn't have to be perfect because hey, these are homemade, right? As long as you have that number 1 ingredient, love. Now since we're making pretzel bites, Julie's going to cut these into bite-sized pieces, about 1 inch, 1.5 inches or so in length. And she's just going to complete that process for the full first row and maybe end up with a bonus piece for me right at the end. We'll take a quick look at the stove top and we see that the water is at a nice boil. And that baking soda does tend to make it look a little bit frothy and a little bit sudsy, but that's just normal. And now she's moving over that first batch over onto a dish here to bring over to the stovetop. And this is actually a dish our daughter made in her pottery class. And that same daughter is wondering what's for dinner.
Okay, that's what you're having for dinner, and then I'm making pretzel bites.
Yes, you are. And you can see she's moved those all into that boiling water. And after a minute, you can take those out and probably bring that temperature down to about a medium or so now. Or you can get a little bit of a bubbling action like we're getting here. And while those were boiling, she did cut the next row, so now she just repeats the process for every single batch until they're all completed with this step. And while another batch is boiling, she's back to the first batch here, move that over to some parchment paper, and now she's going to give these guys a nice egg bath with that egg we prepared earlier, and just brushing those on gently over the top. And now she's gone through all of the boiling process for all of them, so this is the last batch. Now we're going to move both of these trays into the oven and bake at 425 degrees for 8 minutes. There's one, and there is number 2. And as you saw in our case, we've got these on 2 different levels, so we're going to actually rotate these at the halfway point. We're going to bring that top one down to that middle rack, and the middle rack up to the top rack for the last 4 minutes. And after that full 8 minutes, we're going to pull out both of those trays, and then again grab that brush and the eggs, and again spread that across the top for a second round of an egg bath. And as we get a little bit of a closer look, man, these things are already starting to look pretty tasty. Just 8 more minutes of baking and we're all set. After we've got them all covered again with the eggs, we're going to place that in the oven again at 425 and bake for another 8 minutes, rotating if you need to. And after that second 8 minutes of baking, you just take those out, and we've got some Morton's sea salt standing by, and we're going to sprinkle these with sea salt. And for quick and easy reference, you can see the description below for the complete list of ingredients for this recipe, and that makes it nice and easy to copy and paste. And if combining pretzels and chocolate sounds great to you, check out our video right up here. We'd love to hear from you in the comments below, and until next time, God bless.